Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, we're here to talk about Nancy Guthrie for a bit of an update. We're going to look at a couple of videos. We're going to look at Luke Daley being interviewed. Luke Daley was one of the people that was arrested in the second person that was arrested in the two SWAT raids we've had so far concerning this case. And there was a lot of speculation about Luke Daley. Was he involved? We're going to watch him giving his side of the story. He's being interviewed by an Arizona reporter. And we're also going to see his mum, because his mum also I don't think he wasn't arrested. Sorry, I said arrested. I think he was not arrested. He was detained, and his mum was questioned as well. And we're going to watch her interview. She had an interview with the same reporter, so we're going to watch those two interviews and see what we think. Also, we're going to start off with the fact that now that all the media have more or less gone from Nancy's home, I think there's just a News Nation left. JLR goes there periodically, and he missed it again. Poor JLR. He spends hours doing these streams, and then when he's not there, something always seems to happen. I think when JLR leaves the area and goes on to whatever his next project is, that's when it'll all come out. That's what happened with Daniel Cavalcanti, wasn't it? When JLR was there around the scene for a long time, and then I think he had another commitment, another trial coming up or something he wanted to cover. I can't remember what it was. So he finally left, and then lo and behold, Daniel Cavalcanti was caught. So maybe when JLR leaves the scene, maybe that's when something will break properly about this. But yeah, it's a shame because he missed it. So the thing is, you can't be in all places all at once when you're just one live streamer. And JLR tries to go around all the different areas. It's very interesting watching his streams, because not only, sometimes sitting outside the houses and seeing who turns up, but he goes to, different parts of the area. He's been up Mount Lemon. He's been to the homeless camps along the Wash. He shows us the actual area. So it's been very sort of informative, I think, his streams are. But yeah, he missed it. I think the only news reporters that were actually there was News Nation, which of course is Brian Ensign. He always seems to be at the scene. Maybe he's just got very good sources. So he was there, he videoed it, and that is Nancy's two daughters, Savannah Guthrie, who's the NBC reporter or news anchor, her sister Annie, and of course Annie's husband Tommaso. And they've borne the brunt of a lot of suspicions, haven't they, in this case? Because they were the last people to see Nancy. I mean, that is something that happens, isn't it? Nancy was at their house the evening before. For dinner and games night, and it supposedly is Tommaso who took her home. So he was, the last person to see her, except for the actual perpetrator. There's bound to suspicion, but that suspicion is persisting, despite the fact that the sheriff, Nanos, did say that all the family had been cleared. But the problem with Sheriff Nanos, of course, the clown sheriff, is you can't believe anything he says, because he contradicts himself every 5 minutes. So nobody really believes what he says. So even though he said the family were all cleared and their spouses, people were sat like, are they though? Because he doesn't inspire confidence, does he? We don't believe what he says. Now he's gone very quiet, so he hasn't done a press conference for weeks. But he hasn't even done one of those little media interviews. He likes to do the individual ones in his office in his purple shirt. The king I am. He hasn't even done those. He's been very quiet, Sheriff Nanos. And there was an announcement, wasn't there, from the sheriff's department that this was going to be dealt with by the FBI and by certain detectives from the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Basically, the investigation had been put into, instead of, because everybody seemed to be on the Nancy Guthrie case, and some people were complaining that it was taking over too much, because they've got other things going on at the same time. I mean, that's just the sad fact of life. If your family member goes missing, that's the only important thing to you. But as far as the law enforcement are concerned, there'll be other missing people, there's crimes, they have other things. And so although it's not that they don't care about your family member, but nobody can care about your family member as much as you do. And they have to care about everybody's family members, don't they? So, so it's a tough one because, crime doesn't take a break just because the police are concentrating on the Nancy Guthrie case. In fact, if anything, I bet there's quite a few criminals out there who've took advantage of the fact that the sheriff's department is tied up or being tied up with this case, and took advantage of that to commit other crimes. So it's a sad fact of life, isn't there? There's only so many resources, and they have to be divided a lot of different ways. So anyway, so it's not that they're not dealing with it, but you should really. That's another reason why we all feel that he should have just given it over to the FBI or most of it, because to take the pressure off, but I feel like he wanted to be the one to solve it, or his department is the issues that he had with the FBI because they'd investigated him for misappropriation of funds before. So there was no love lost between him and the FBI, and I do think that's been a barrier in this investigation. But anyway. So that was something that happened this week from Monday. Now we're in, as I say, day 29, coming up to day 30, because of course when I report on it, because I'm on a different time, so I'm reporting on is what happened almost yesterday, really, in America. To night time, and America's going to sleep just as I'm waking up. So anyway. Okay, so first of all, just want to thank you, Nancy, following my coverage. Thank you, liking, subscribing, sharing. Thank you so much for any support you give to my channel. Thank you for those who sent computer fund, etc. Thank you for I appreciate everybody who contributes in any way, any positive way, shape or form to my channel. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to take the banner off. Oh, I want to say hello to you lovely lurkers out there, the people who like to watch the lives but don't necessarily like to join in the chat. It's not for everybody. I want to say hello, kiss, and hello to replay crew. Thank you for watching, and see if anyone's in the chat. I might have caught people out. Hi, Daniel. Let's get on with it. So I think we'll start. So it surprised everybody. I'm sure the family have been waiting for it to go quiet at the scene, because there's been this growing tribute, isn't there, to Nancy, people bringing flowers, candles, religious effigies and things, and putting up little placards and things, messages of support and hope for Nancy and the family. and it's been growing outside Nancy's home. And yesterday, just out the blue, who came along but Savannah, Annie, and Tommaso? And do you know, especially Anna? I mean, even Savannah, because I don't know if Savannah's come under any suspicion for actually having anything to do with it. Probably from some areas, because there's a lot of people out there that say a lot of things. But definitely Tommaso and Annie have been under a lot of suspicion, haven't they? As I say, in a way, it's understandable because they were the last people to see Nancy. I think the other thing is, the other reason that I've mentioned before is it would make more sense. People are trying to make sense of this case. They don't understand why a masked man who we don't know what connection, if any, they had to Nancy, would turn up in the middle of the night and take an 84-year-old woman. It sort of almost makes more sense if it was something to do with Annie and Tommaso. That's why people are still, people are trying to trying to understand what's happened, and failing really with the balaclava guy, or the ski mask guy, porch guy, some people call him. Nobody really understands why somebody would take an 84-year-old woman, and it appears that he was there before. It appears that Nancy was targeted. Why was she targeted? Was it valuables she had in the house? Was it just the fact she's an old lady living alone and they thought that she'd be an easy target? Why did they come in the middle of the night when she was there? Burglars don't tend to do that. And if something went wrong, why did they take Nancy with them? Burglars, if something goes wrong during a burglary and someone is sadly, killed or injured as a result, the burglars don't normally take them with them. They just leave them there, at the scene. So it's very unusual for them to take someone. What have they done with her? Where have they put her? Did they panic because she managed to scratch them, and she had, they thought she would lead back to them because she had DNA under her fingernails, or there's a million sort of scenarios we go over, but none of them really make any sense unless she was deliberately targeted to be taken away. And the other thing is, as far as there has been no genuine ransom, and now there's $1 million, more than that, on offer as a reward. Savannah has even said that they can pick it up in cash. They can, they don't have to identify themselves. There's not, but nobody's coming forward. Not the kidnappers, not family, not anybody's coming forward. So if there's all that money up for grabs, like for information, if there's any information that can be given, in my opinion, it would have been given by now. When big rewards are put up and nobody claims them, I always think that nobody knows anything. Or the only person who knows something is the perpetrator and they come forward. Or, the other people that maybe know something, they're too scared. And I still think these things should be put out in Spanish. If there's any suggestion at all that the perpetrators might have gone over the border to Mexico because it's so close to Mexico, why are these appeals not done in Spanish as well? Put out on the Mexican news. I personally don't think that's happened, but I don't know. Who knows? So they could certainly be over in Mexico. And have they even taken Nancy over to Mexico and disposed of her there? There seems to be a general acceptance that Nancy probably is not alive, because don't forget she had these health problems. She had a pacemaker. She was on medication. Unless they were prepared for it and took medication with them, it's not likely, is it? Not after all this time. If we were still within the first week, there was hope then that maybe Nancy was alive, but I think it'd be very difficult to, even the family seem to have accepted that she's probably not alive anymore. It's just too long, isn't it? It's over a month now. You know, it's very sad. Very sad. This poor woman, you know, just to, as I've said before, live a long life like that, 84 years old, children, grandchildren. You've survived everything life's had to throw at you. You know, she's lost her parents, then she seems to have lost her brother, she lost her husband. She'd been through all that. And there she was, just tucked up in bed. And this is what they've made clear. She was in bed. And 84 years old. And some masked man, at least one, maybe more than one, bursts into your home where you should feel safe and does whatever they did to her. So, of course, there was the blood found outside on the porch that we know about. We don't know if there was blood found inside. But right from the word go, Sheriff Nanos was describing it as a crime scene, wasn't he? So they you know, I think he even described it as a homicide at one point, you know, so there's something inside that house has led them to believe that Nancy probably isn't alive, I think. And then somehow this masked person, let's just have a quick look at the, this is the person who did it on the CCTV, entering her house. Somehow this person got Nancy out of the house. There must have been maybe there is more than one person, because was somebody waiting outside in a car, the getaway vehicle? No vehicle has been linked yet, despite some leads and things. No vehicle has been linked to this kidnapping. But that's the man who was there at the door. We don't even know if he's the man that did it, because there's no timestamp apparently. And then there was this other picture that may be from before. But this man that's going in with the rucksack, he's got a gun there in his hand. He's all dressed up with black gloves, balaclava, you know, you name it. And then he's got this rucksack on, and that rucksack was full to the brim. I mean, it was packed. You can see when we saw the rucksack, it's a big rucksack and it's full of something. What is it full of? You know, was he going there to kill Nancy and take her away? What burglar takes a full rucksack with him to the scene? You know, so there's all these curious things about this case that we can't really, you know, we have no idea, do we, what happened, why it happened. And of course, this is the ski mask, so you can see the eyes are very, you know, they almost look like he's got eyeliner on, but that could be the light, I don't know. And as I say, the moustache and the goatee beard are very dark, so it's either someone who's young who hasn't got any grey in their beard, or they've dyed it, because it's not beyond the realms of possibility. You know, that they might have a disguise on even under the ski mask, you know, just don't know, do we? Because so there've been 2 SWAT raids, 2 people were detained. There was Carlos in the first instance, and then Luke Daley that we're going to watch the interview that he's just done. But neither of those people were charged with anything. That doesn't mean to say they're cleared, of course, not completely. Nobody's come out and said they're completely innocent, I don't think. There may still be investigations going on. Now, it'd be interesting to know why they were ever detained in the first place, because we don't really know that either, do we? We don't know why they were detained. That's not been released. Like what the reason was their vehicle seen in the area, was their phone caught in the, you know, in the data analysis. We don't know. They don't know. Nobody knows why they were ever detained in the first place. There was something else I was going to say about that, and it's gone, but it'll come back to me as time goes on. So yeah, imagine, you know, SWAT team turning up at your house, arresting or detaining your son, and you, you know, asking you a load of questions because they think Nancy Guthrie's in your basement or whatever. it's quite traumatic, isn't it, that? And then afterwards, you still don't even know why they ever came there in the first place. Wild, isn't it, really? Anyway, let's look first at the family going to the scene. So, yeah, up they trotted. They went, Annie put a card down. Let's see. Is it this one, I think? Or is it this one? I think it's this one. Yeah, just make sure it's sharing. So yeah, I think it's quite brave of Annie and Tommaso, especially because they must know that there's been all this social media talk about them and everything. They must know that. I'm sure that they will know. So it's quite brave of them, really, of all of them, because do you know what? It's bad enough, isn't it? When your family member goes missing. Oh, look, I've got armed guards here, though. Look, gosh, look at him. He looks really quite fierce, doesn't he? He's got his. How many guns has he got? Oh my God. Anyway, they needed it because you know what? You don't know what crazies are out there. So obviously they turned up there unexpectedly. They won't have announced that they were going. The fact is that Nancy's been kidnapped. Nobody knows why, and it's perfectly feasible that the person who had the grudge against Nancy, it may be about the family in general. And people always talk about Savannah because she's the public figure, but it might be someone who's got a grudge against Tommaso, someone who's got a grudge against Annie. We just don't know. Or somebody who's had a run in with Nancy at some point. And we know from other cases we've covered, people harbour grudges. They can harbour them for years. It's like, it could be something that happened 3 years ago. And that person has been sort of festering with it and then just suddenly decided to do something. Oh, I'm going to play this video in a minute, but that was it. Something else that I wanted to say, but I thought it was interesting. I heard somebody say on a podcast, and I think, that, but I've said it from the beginning, careless talk costs lives. I don't know if you know that expression, but it could easily be just somebody, even one of Nancy's caregivers, in all innocence, talking about Nancy, maybe that she had jewelry in the house, or maybe, oh gosh, she keeps her money in the house, or and somebody else overhearing that there's a little old lady, lives on her own, no dog, she's vulnerable, and they think, oh, that'd be an easy place to rob. This careless talk definitely costs lives. And then somebody was saying about the Uber driver that dropped Nancy off, because we know that she went to Annie and Tommaso's in an Uber. And not even casting shade on the Uber driver themselves, but maybe he said something. Maybe she mentioned that Savannah Guthrie was her daughter. You just don't know what that. It would have been a very short conversation they had, because literally she literally only went up the road. It was like even a 5-10 minute drive, so they won't have got into much conversation. But of course, he might have been a regular Uber driver for Nancy. And whether he was involved or not, I'm not saying that he was involved, but he could be sat in a bar chatting to someone and mention Nancy, and someone's ears prick up, that he doesn't realise he's talking to someone, giving information about Nancy that is dangerous. A lot of these bad people, they hear that it's a little old lady living on her own. Maybe she's got money under the mattress. Maybe she's got a lot of jewellery, you just don't know. Anything could have led to Nancy being targeted. So let's watch this. So they're all in unity. They're all in unity, of course. Oh, this is just making me quite emotional. So Annie is very emotional, isn't she? She's visibly or audibly upset, and Tommaso puts his arm around her, and then they show this. They all hug each other, so there's a real show of unity here from the family. Yeah, so Savannah is hugging Tommaso. I think that they're a very they're united as a family. Don't know what that sounds. So yeah, quite a lot of tributes there now. A lot of cards. Annie left a card. JLR went up and had a look at it. Um, it's very emotional, I think. Just not knowing. God, your mum's disappeared. I mean, the more you sort of think about it, you think about your mum. I mean, my mum has passed quite a long time ago, to be honest. She was, quite young really for this day and age. But if she'd been still alive and this happened to her, imagine, your mum's disappeared in the middle of the night, but there's blood found at the scene, and these fake kidnapping requests, and the media frenzy, and everything that's going on. Just imagine if that was your loved one. It's just unbearable, isn't it? I don't know how much hoping, to be honest. I hope they get their answers. I hope Nancy is found. I hope she's found safe and well, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think even they think that's going to happen now. But I think the important thing is that she is found and somebody is held responsible for this. That'll be, it won't bring Nancy back, but at least it will bring this family a bit of peace. Just, yeah, horrible. Okay, so now I think we'll look at let's turn that one off. We're going to look at the Luke Daley interview, and he was actually, I think we'll look. We're going to look at his mum's interview first, then we're going to look at the Luke Daley interview. So Mary Chapman Daley, this lady is called, and she is Luke Daley's mum, and she sat down with Brianna for an interview, and we're going to watch that now. Let me just... Now, let me know if you can hear it or not. Sometimes, for some reason, the sound doesn't work the first time. I have to take it off and go back.
Continues on, and it's
Luke is your son?
Yes.
Right. Can you just tell me? Can you hear that?
You were Nancy Guthrie's neighbor, pretty close by.
I didn't realize that.
You didn't know that?
No.
So did you not know?
I knew it after everything happened. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So you hear that she is abducted. She goes missing. And I assume your first thought when you hear this is, oh my gosh, this is crazy and it's nearby. Were you following the story, following the case?
Totally. At that point, to see if they could ever find her, And, Savannah grew up in Arizona, and, her family, and we watch her on TV. So it's sort of like, she comes into our living room and tells us what's going on. So it's, it's very emotional for me. I mean, I'm stuff at all, but I have a lot of empathy and pray. I don't have a lot of hope of but and it's, huge loss for all of us, actually.
Oh, hearing about it, I imagine there's a lot of upset and fear, concern.
Yes. And they were searching, I live on this street, and then they were searching a street a little closer and a little farther out, excuse me. And, it's just weird to have these people and people standing in front of my house wanting to talk, mostly news people wanting to.
Yeah, I mean, the media don't.
I didn't talk to those people at all. We just. Mm-hmm.
So tell me what happened when this all ends up at your home.
And I wasn't necessarily answering it. They might not have even had a camera or anything. And then this one, late afternoon when they came in the big SWAT vehicles, pulled into my driveway and said they won't anything. I said, well, yeah, go ahead.
You can hear it, okay.
I mean, so they were there for about 6 hours, and I was in the SWAT vehicle, and they went through my house and went through everything and tore everything, broke my, if the door was locked, they would break it open to go see what was in there. There really wasn't anything in there, but it was pretty upsetting.
Well, and it's one thing to come to you and say, do you have any video or anything like that? It's another to detain you and search your house with a search warrant. Did they tell you why?
I guess I assumed, because I lived close by or something, but I just said I'd do anything to, if we could find some clues that might help, but I don't think there's any look. I mean, I didn't say you can't look. I didn't even think. It was kind of, late in the day. I'm so sorry. I'll turn that off. I get a lot of phone calls now, a lot of messages from people. How are you doing, Mary? So, yeah, and then I just decided I was much better off going to Phoenix to be with Matt and the grandkids and his wife and everything.
So when they detained you, did you know that this was related to also them investigating Luke?
No.
You had no idea?
No, I wasn't thinking this was about Luke. I found out it was also about Luke, but initially, no, I was thinking it was all about Nancy Guthrie and finding her and whatnot. So, because I was thinking, I don't even think Luke probably ever watched the news and even saw Savannah on the news. I mean, I did.
Right. So when did you learn that, your detainment was related to Luke's detainment in this case?
When, I'm not exactly sure when, because honestly, during this time, I was really emotional, and there were lots of information coming in, and so I don't remember exactly the time, but I know that in retrospect, I know all this stuff that it did, but initially I didn't think of it being Luke as part of this, because I knew it wasn't something that Luke would be involved in any way, and he wasn't. So, yeah.
And when you learned that, was there?
Now, I feel for Luke's mum because, Luke has been involved in things. He's not an angel. He has been involved in things. He's been arrested before. I think he's served some time in prison. His DNA is probably in the CODIS database. He's definitely been arrested. I don't know if he's served any time in prison. So she's, she knows that he's not an angel. But of course, this is a different level, isn't it? I don't know. Maybe he was involved with drugs or whatever. But, actually kidnapping an 84-year-old woman is completely different level, maybe. But also, I do know, myself included, mums don't like to think, they don't like to think their sons are bad. We see that all the time. Mothers making excuses for their sons or daughters. That's just a human thing, isn't it? So, is she like, oh no, I can't, I knew Luke won't be involved in anything like that. But do you really know? That's the problem as a mother, isn't it? Or a father. You don't know what your adult child does. You hope and you imagine that they won't do this or they won't do that, but they're human. They're not only your son, your daughter, they are a human being, and human beings do things wrong sometimes.
Any thought that could he have been involved?
No, I didn't think he ever could have been involved. Not at all. No.
So you and Luke were not involved in anything in this case.
Right, except seeing it on TV and acting and some of the consequences of, we want to search this. And I'm like, okay, if it helps find, because this was early on, we thought differently about.
Did they take anything specific from your home?
Did they take anything? I can't think of anything they took. I can't think of anything.
And did they
I
eventually?
might think of something later.
That's
I hate to say it, but
Yeah.
Don't you, wouldn't you know if they took something for your home? Are they not supposed to leave you some sort of receipt at least, or something? If they took your computer or they took your phone or whatever, you would certainly know, because but she's saying she can't think of anything that they took. But surely if they would have taken something, I feel like they're supposed to leave something. I don't know, but
Did they eventually tell you that they were searching your home in relation to this case, or did you this whole time think they're just looking to see if I have any surveillance video or anything like that? Like, where did that shift happen?
They didn't give me a lot of information, but I just assumed, and I said, well, if it's like I said, if it's something that might help us find her, then go for it if you think there's anything in here, but I don't think there is. So, yeah.
Did you ever suspect that Luke might know who was involved?
No.
Not at all.
No. Mm-mm.
So you guys were basically both detained for hours. You were questioned, your property gone through, and then released, but with not a lot of explanation as to why.
Well, I guess they just said they could do, I didn't want to stop if it might be helpful, but I had no idea when. I thought they'd maybe come in and look around for an hour or something, poke around, and but.
Yeah. So you have not been back at your home staying there since this.
I just got back.
What's that like?
It's really good to be back here. I was up in Phoenix with my kids and grandkids, which is wonderful. But, we built our home and lived there a long time. And Matt's grown up in it. Luke's grown up in it. They're, so it's home. It's home. So I love being there. I'm glad to be back. And it's nice to know that Luke's there and, with me.
I mean, in the days since you guys were detained, it's not been an easy road for any of you. Luke especially. I mean, people still believe he is the person on the video camera. They still believe he's the person who abducted Nancy Guthrie. His face is out there. His name, your name, has been out there. How, as a family, have you emotionally dealt with that, even though you've been released?
Well, things will just pop up and I'll just feel a lot more like even sitting here talking about it. It is very emotional. And part of me just wants to say goodbye to all this chapter. So hopefully this interview will help kind of have some closure for me and for everybody else who's felt the impact, because this has been huge impact, not just here. I mean, all the family from Rhode Island called right away and said, wow, look what's happening. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't really do Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. I'm not the right demographic. I don't spend my time doing that,
But Luke's on it. I mean, he is younger, and that is
Yeah,
part of him. And he's had to see his face out there.
That's really a shame, I think. But I was shocked about all of that. That was an education for me in terms of a way of communicating and things people like to do, like younger people, not older people like me.
Yeah. What do you say to people who have also brought up Luke's past and kind of associated, oh, well, he's had a past with criminal activity, therefore this could be a part of this? What do you say to those people?
Well, I don't know. They don't really ask me that. My friends, I mean, I
Okay, sorry about that. Usual dog emergency. Okay, let's carry on.
have a really good group of friends here in Tucson. And I mean, they never really questioned me about that stuff. They thought it, they didn't, come up and say, well, could he have done this? And they didn't, probably out of respect.
Sure.
Because they don't know, and I didn't know what all was going on sometimes, but I knew this wasn't I mean, Luke's had issues, other issues, but this is not the kind of thing that he had a problem with, and he's doing well now, and we're all kind of in the recovery mode, if you know what I mean, trying to.
So yeah, so Luke's had issues, other issues, but nothing like this. He's now doing better, so it seems like he's gone through whatever he's gone through, and things are better. So was that why he was singled out? Just because he has got a record, and maybe his vehicle was seen in the area, or maybe his phone, or maybe it was a tip from someone? You know, it could have simply been somebody saying, "Oh, I think that's Luke Daley," you know, because of the eyes in his eyes are similar to the eyes of the porch guy. But you know, if you arrested every guy that had similar eyes to the porch guy, well, they'd be very busy, wouldn't they?
Get our lives back and get back to normal again and all that stuff.
For your family, it's been tough. For the Guthrie family, it's been tough. I mean, what is your thought process trying to relate to the Guthries themselves going through this, but in the most awful way, in that they've lost Nancy and there's still no answers?
You know, really, mostly I pray. Yeah.
And they've asked for prayers.
They've asked for prayers, and sometimes I can listen to Savannah's, you know, she comes on and talks often. You guys all know that probably. And I've watched a little bit, but I can't watch too much because it just makes me want to cry. Yeah. It's just so sad. And the longer it goes on, then the more hope is lost, you know.
For you guys in this neighborhood, you know, it's a very.
Well, the thing is, I don't know who did this, but there's always an outside chance they might even be watching this. You know, I'm only a tiny channel, but I would imagine the perpetrator is scouring anything that comes on about this case, you know, to see if anybody knows anything about them or whatever. You know, you have to imagine, if you are watching this, please imagine if that was your mother. You have to do the right thing. You really do, for your own soul, for your own salvation. You know, this is not, maybe it was just a mistake, and maybe, you know, you're sorry that it happened, but then you have to give the family back their mother. You have to do the right thing. You know, eventually you're going to get caught anyway. So you may as well give yourself up and show yourself as a decent person, not what everybody's thinking of you now. You know, it's just, you know, what you've done, that could be your mother, your grandma, you know. Just have some human decency, please.
Tighten it. It's a beautiful neighborhood. It's quiet. It's quaint. To have this kind of onslaught, the media spectacle, and then to become where you are, does that change your perception of how safe home feels?
Well, I feel safe in my home now. I didn't for a while. That's why I went to Phoenix. I have wonderful neighbors that live right next door, and we're in this little cul-de-sac together. And that's where the SWAT team came up the cul-de-sac and stuff. But I mean, I stayed with them some of the time. A couple nights I stayed over at David and Margaret's house because I was uncomfortable, you know. So yeah, I just never thought in my life I would. I mean, who would imagine something like this? There was so much sadness, and I want to say global, but certainly our whole country, but it goes farther than that probably.
Oh, it does.
I mean, the way media is today. I mean, I grew up in a different era, as you know. So it's amazing how things.
Well, yeah, it is global, international, and it's not only because of social media. I mean, cases that are so sort of mysterious and high because of Savannah being famous and all those things. Even before social media, cases did spread around the globe. Certain cases, didn't they? There are cases that do get reported even before social media, and there's a lot of things can affect whether a case gets reported. You know, people always talk about this sort of blonde woman syndrome, that if a blonde woman goes missing, she gets more attention than an ethnic minority, which I think is true. But in this case, I mean, this is an elderly lady, you know. Seniors don't normally get so much attention. Nancy has probably got so much attention because of Savannah in a way, but also because of the mysterious nature of it, you know, and helped by social media. But I'm trying to think, you know, even years ago, cases did spread around the globe. Look at the Madeleine McCann case. You know, look at the oh God, what's her name? The Kircher case in Italy with the American Foxy Knoxy, that they called her Amanda Knox. That spread all over the globe, even though the actual crime happened in Italy and Amanda was American. There's lots of cases, John Benet Ramsey, you know, there are lots of cases that even before social media caught the world's attention.
So
What do you want to say to the Guthrie family, especially for you and your son? If there was any possibility they still believed you guys could be involved, what do you want to say to the Guthries?
Savannah, I am just very, very sad and sorry about Nancy. And I pray for you and your family that you heal, that you can go back to your normal place of life and resume and build with your family and your children and your husband. And but I know it's going to be a challenge, but I'm going to keep praying. Mm-hmm.
And you want them to know no involvement from you and Luke?
No involvement from Luke and I, no.
So let me know what you think about that. I expect there's a lot of, you know, so-called body language experts. I don't believe in body language. I think, you know, I just think you do get intuitions, and there are certain telltale signs, I know. But body language experts, you know, they're looking at things backwards, you know. So yeah, maybe if it turned out this lady did have something to do with it, and you look back over it, and you'd find all those things. Oh, well, when she did this, or when she said that, or when she looked like that. Or alternatively, when somebody else is found to be guilty and Luke and his mum are completely exonerated because somebody's actually been caught for it, then they look back at it, don't they? Oh, you could always see that Luke was innocent because of this. So, yeah, body language is, you know, you get your impressions of people, but they are only opinions. Nobody's an expert on body language, only in retrospect, in my opinion anyway. So that was Luke's mum. Now we're going to watch Luke's interview. And one thing I did find interesting is he is shaved. I wonder why he's done that. And, is it just because, you know, when he had facial hair, of course. So this is Luke as he's being interviewed. He looks quite thick set, doesn't he? I didn't think the guy, Porch guy as they call him, is as thick set as that. Maybe on this one, maybe more. I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I don't know whether it's Luke or isn't Luke. But of course, on the actual, I mean, I don't think Luke looks like this picture anyway. But this person has got facial hair, and apparently Luke did have facial hair. But anyway, it's clean shaven now. Maybe he's been clean shaven for ages. So I don't know. Okay, right. Let's play it. Let me know if you can hear it, because as you know, sometimes when I swap over from one page to another, you can't always hear to start with. So let me know.
Many people have believed that you are the person on the surveillance video, the abductor, the masked person. Is that you?
It's not me. I don't see the resemblance of it looking like me, but absolutely not. I have nothing to do with this case.
Nothing to do with it. Do you have any idea who is involved? in the abduction?
I don't. If I did, I would.
I think you can hear it. I've just checked. So he's categorically saying it's not him, but then would he say, yes, it's me? He's not going to say that anyway, is he? But don't forget, he was detained. He was detained and released. So, unless they just didn't have enough evidence and they're planning on arresting him again at a future date. We don't know. Yeah, just looking at his look at this under his lip there. That's very similar actually to the. Let's go back and have a look at that. I mean, obviously he shaved his facial hair. But yeah, he's got like a little shadow just on. I don't know. So anyway, let's hear what he's got to say. I don't know if it's him or not. The police don't know it's him because they released him. So we've just got to, listen to what he's got to say and bear in mind he was detained but not arrested.
Happily tell FBI, police, anything. I mean, I, like everyone else, just want Nancy to come home and be safe. But that being said, I have nothing to do with this case, and that's it.
Explain to me what happened on the night you were detained, where you were, you're with your car. How did that unfold in your eyes?
So I was driving home. I noticed two sheriff vehicles following me. They pulled me over at the Culvers right there, asked me to get out of the car, didn't tell me what it was about.
This was that chaotic Friday night, wasn't it, when people were saying someone had tried to flee the scene and shot themselves. There was all those rumours flying around, the SWAT team at his mum's house, and then he was actually stopped in a traffic stop at the Culvers, which is a restaurant, I think.
So they had me cuffed in the back of a cop car, detained. I was asking, like, what am I being detained for? And they wouldn't tell me anything. They just said that the detectives would be there to talk to me. And once I saw like FBI and all the other cars start pulling in, I'm like, oh, this is probably about the Guthrie case. I'm like, this should be easy. Like, I have nothing to do with this, so it should be not a big deal to clear my name and move on. But the whole time during the questioning, didn't really seem like more of like a fishing expedition for them to try to get me to say something, because all the dates I was telling them where I was, things like that. I'm like, all you'd have to do is look at my phone and see my location. It was nowhere.
Yeah, now it's true. All he'd have to do is look at his phone. He's saying I was nowhere near the thing. But of course, now we're hearing that possibly these people, if there was more than one person, had walkie-talkies. So, did they even take their phones? One thing I will say, if he is completely innocent, it just must have been a horrible experience. But having said that, the FBI, the sheriff's department, they have to follow up any lead. They obviously got a lead. I don't think they would have plucked his name out of thin air. There'll be a reason. But of course, he apparently still doesn't know the reason. So what is the reason? What is the reason that he was detained? He says even he doesn't know, so we certainly don't.
Near anywhere. Or have any connection to this. But it's like, I mean, I don't trust the FBI to the extent that I'm like thinking that there's pressure on this case and they want to find the person. So like the whole time while I'm sitting in the back of the cop car, I'm like panicking, thinking that I'm going to be framed for this, or they're trying to pin this on me somehow.
Did they tell you what led them to you? I mean, something made them believe they needed to talk to you about it. What was that?
I asked them. They didn't tell me any information about that. And I have thought of any type of reason why they could have come after me. But there's nothing. And I think that's why they didn't tell me.
Were you in the area of the home at the time, like the overnight, or would it have been something like we've tracked this person.
So he said, "Oh, there's nothing. That's why they didn't tell me." But there must have been something. I don't believe they plucked his name out of thin air, unless they just know that he is somebody who's been in trouble with the police before, living in the area. Maybe, but they haven't. There'd be loads of people living not far away from Nancy who've been in trouble with the police before. There must be a reason why they picked him particularly.
Near the
Well,
abduction
I
scene?
live near her house, but I mean, I didn't even know that until after the fact. Like, I barely just learned where her actual house was in relation to mine. So I didn't even know.
Had you ever met her?
No.
Did you know who she was?
I knew who she was because my mother was following the case. But in terms of other than that, I would just go off what my mother was telling me.
And so how long were you detained for?
Probably maybe 4 or 5 hours.
In the back of that car the whole time? And they searched your Range Rover extensively?
Yeah, they searched Range Rover. They towed my Range Rover. Did all DNA testing or whatever, and then gave it back to me. Took my cell phone. I've had no way to get a hold of anyone, which is probably a good thing because everyone's looking at me like I'm this person that I'm not. So it's been rough.
You got your car back
Yes.
in rough condition, or was it okay?
Well, when I went to pick it up, like it wouldn't start. They, I guess they drained the battery down, and it was just covered in the whatever white substance that they use for testing. But yeah, then I got it started up, and it wasn't.
It's terrible, that, isn't it? The way they leave people's possessions. I mean, if they are the perpetrator and they're found, something was found there, well, you don't have to treat their car well, of course, or their property. But, if it turns out that they've got nothing to do with it, they should return things in a decent condition, shouldn't they? They should be cleaned and made sure that they're working. Surely that's because at the end of the day, if he really has got nothing to do with it, he's an innocent man. And like his mum was saying, they broke indoors and things like that. They should leave. They should not leave things in that condition.
Luckily, it wasn't damaged in terms of like repairs or anything. But
So when they released you, what did they say? They say you're free? Did they say never mind? I mean, what was the verbiage there from them?
they had just told me that they were still at my house, so I couldn't go home. But they drove me somewhere near the house and just dropped me off. I was like, "Well, I don't have a phone. How am I supposed to figure out when I'm supposed to when I can go back to the house?" They basically said, "You're just gonna have to figure that out." So I mean, I waited just where they dropped me off at for maybe an hour or so.
Oh my God.
I had a friend that lived near the area, and I walked over there. They weren't home, so I was just waiting, like basically just on their patio. And then it got to the point where I'm like, "Oh,
Do you think that's awful? They just drop him off and he's got no phone, no way of, he can't go back to his house, they've told him. Where's he supposed to go? Who's he supposed to contact? How is he don't know where his mother is, he can't contact her." I think it's terrible dealing with people like that when they're not being, they've just been questioned. That could be you or I, anybody could be questioned. You wouldn't expect them to just drop you in the middle of nowhere, would you?
well, they should be done by now." I walked back to my house, and this was like the worst part for me is getting there and seeing the house torn up. But the worst part was my mom not being there, and her being elderly and having AFib and things like that. I'm thinking the worst. Like, I see her cars here, but she's not there, and I don't have my phone to get a hold of her. So I'm wondering what happened, if I need to start calling hospitals or what the deal was. But luckily, I guess she went to one of the neighbors, but I didn't find that out until the next day.
Oh my God.
You were detained and released, but you've said it. Your face, your name, it's everywhere online. People still believe you were either involved or did this. What's that been like for you to have your name, your picture, even a past mugshot all over the internet associated with this case?
I mean, for me, it's terrible. Um, I it's hard to go anywhere, and the hard part is they're making all these assumptions based on things that have absolutely no relevance, and they're just bringing up my past, which I mean, I do have a past, but nothing violent or anything like that. All my past has just been involved with using drugs, and I've been in that life for over 2 years now.
Oh,
So all the things that they're bringing up, yeah, I guess it's public record, but it would have came out if it wasn't for all these people speculating and doing things like that. So now people that had no idea about my past, so I've done like a good job of working past it and not having anything to do with it. So them doing that now.
that's a shame, isn't it? So the thing is, when anyone can fall into problems with drugs, and if you think that your son or your daughter or your loved one, it won't happen in my family, you're wrong, because it could happen to anybody in any family. You just don't know. So he's come back. He's moved on past the problems that he's had. And that's all. So there'll be a lot of people that he's mixing with now don't know about his past. And now they do, because he's all over the news for that and everything. And some people won't look at it and think, oh, well, anyone who turns their life around, they deserve a lot of respect. If Luke genuinely has turned his life around, got through those bad times and come out the other side and starting to make a proper life, he deserves plaudits. It's hard. It's easy to get on drugs, so much easier than you think, but it's bloody hard to get off them again. So I really feel for him. If this man has got absolutely nothing to do with it, which at the end of the day, nothing's been, apart from him being questioned, nothing's been proved against him. It's awful, isn't it? To then just thinking about what it'd be like. You think about things in your past, maybe not like being a drug addict or whatever, but there may be something in your past that you wouldn't necessarily want people to know, something you're not really proud of. We've all had things happen to us, or we've done things, especially when we were young, that maybe friends that we've got now, you wouldn't want them to know about it, not because it's like even criminal, but just because maybe it's a bit unethical, or maybe it's, I don't know, just something like sometimes, I mean, I do talk about it now, but, things like my ex many years ago and the situation we had of stalking and that, it's not something you want to tell everybody straight away. So if that all comes out and then suddenly everybody knows about it, he's probably gone through hell since he was detained.
It's kind of just reopening this whole speculation and make me out to look like this bad person, which I'm not.
And it's not just been you. People have found, records of an alleged girlfriend of yours. There's been a lot of rumors swirling around. What do you want to say about those rumors, about you, about her, about, everybody that people have looked at and said, well, they could do this?
Yeah, first of all, that's not my girlfriend. I barely knew that girl, and I was arrested with her on a completely different circumstance over a year ago. I haven't talked to her since, and I guess they're just going off of the arrest, saying that I was arrested with her. So, but I hardly know her and don't associate with her. But in terms of everything else, I mean, all the speculation is just going off of, I don't even know if people really believe it, but online it just seems like they're pushing this narrative and trying to make connections with things that are, I don't know, basically like circumstantial, like saying my eyelashes match the guy in the ski mask picture, which I'm sure, like, if you could use anyone's picture and find similarities.
And you don't recognize the person on that.
Yeah, definitely. That picture, they have got very distinctive eyelashes. But you know what? So have a lot of people. But and I'm still not sure that they're not sort of mascaraed or something, or made to look darker. Because you just if somebody knows there's a CCTV camera there, even though he's got a ski mask on, you don't know what's disguised underneath.
In that footage?
No, I don't. But in terms of all this, like I said, they're comparing my face to this. They're talking about my Range Rover, which I didn't even buy until after she was reported missing.
It was a new car, yeah?
yeah.
For you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're talking about another car that was towed off my property. That car wasn't an accident, has nothing to do with this.
That's interesting. So he bought the car after Nancy went missing. And then he's saying another car was towed off the property, but that had been in an accident. So that's interesting.
It wasn't towed in relation to this case. It was being towed by the insurance company to assume if it was totaled or not. So that had nothing to do with the case. There's no evidence to point towards me other than speculation.
You really have no idea what led them to you in this case.
Absolutely not.
Still a mystery to you.
Yes, and I would love to find out.
Were you dealing mostly with sheriff's deputies or FBI agents when you were detained?
When I was detained by the sheriffs, but in terms of all the questioning was done by the FBI.
What would you like to say to both PCSD and the FBI?
Basically what I told them before, or if there's anything, I'm happy to help. If there actually was something real that I could help them with, but like I said, they have my phone. They went through my phone, so I mean, if it was anything real, they could look through that and hope clear my name. But in terms of the collateral damages, this being part of it, there's not really any type of way. There's no going back from this.
For your whole family too. I mean, your mom has had to go through this too. As a family, how has this made you guys feel collectively together to kind of be in this public shock, this public scrutiny?
It all just seems like a nightmare. I mean, it doesn't seem real, and it's just been, we're all just it's just been a nightmare. I know my mom, she has like problem with stress, and like she was doing good before this. After this, she's been a lot more stressed. It's been hard. I'll let her speak to how it's affected her, but I mean, in terms of collectively as a family, it's been a nightmare.
You know, what's your message for Nancy Guthrie's family?
I mean, I like everyone else. I want to see her come home. I want the actual suspect to be found. I think it's really unfair to them to give them false hope by going off whatever they went off to have this huge investigation and raid happen. To me, it's like giving them false hope that something that they had a suspect and then it was nothing. And I'm not the first person either, so I think it's wrong in that sense.
This is your first interview since you've been detained. What's your hope in putting your voice out there now that people will get from this interview?
I mean, for my personal interest, I would just say just not to go off speculation of everything you hear on the internet and kind of like the hive mind mentality that someone says something.
Because people do believe, when people come out with these names and photos and things, there was a lot of talk about him. I tried to avoid it. I mentioned him, I think, but I do try and avoid things until they're definite. But what do you think? Let me know. I can see you, old hippie, you think he's innocent. I don't know that he's dumb. I don't think he's dumb. To me, it just seems like a guy who's been through hard times and, he's been in trouble. He's not an angel. He's got in trouble and he's trying to rebuild his life. But, let me know, of course, all of you, what you think. Do you think Luke is telling the truth? Do you think he's genuine? Do you think his mum was genuine?
But I mean, in terms of like moving forward, I just want want to be cleared, have actual verification that I was cleared by the FBI
Yeah.
and sheriff, whoever else.
Have they officially cleared you?
I don't date. This is just going off what I've heard, but I guess I've been cleared, but them still, they don't close any case, I guess, because it's still ongoing. But I mean, I know personally, there's nothing else that they're gonna come across that points towards me. So
Unequivocally, you are not the person. You are not involved.
absolutely, 100%.
Is there anything else you want to clear up that people may have said, that you've seen, that you feel that you have the opportunity now to address?
Nothing particular is coming to mind right now. Obviously, I mean, I'm nervous. This is, like I said, my first interview, and I mean, I'm not trying to get any more attention from this. I just want to put it out there for me that I had nothing to do with this, and I'm hoping that the truth will come out. Whatever that may be, I have no idea.
Well, the best thing that can happen for everybody is that the real perpetrator is found, and then Luke maybe will be properly cleared. So he won't be properly cleared yet, probably because they still don't know who did it. So once they've actually got the person or people who've done it, that's when they'll properly clear him, I suppose. You know, because the sheriff even said that, didn't he? He said, "Oh, nobody's really cleared." And then, of course, he cleared the family then after that. But yeah, I mean, I feel like he's being honest, that he didn't have anything to do with it. But, it's just a feeling. Nobody knows what's really going on in someone's head, do they?
I appreciate your time. Chris, do you have anything that you want Luke to address or add? Luke, is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you want to address or talk about while you're here? Just want to make sure that you get your opportunity to say anything you want to.
I just want to say again that I hope that she's safe. I hope they find her, and I just want to move on with my life and not have any. I mean, it's been hard. Like, I can't go anywhere. Everyone gives me dirty looks, and they see me in my car. Like, I would assume that they, like, I don't know, people are just think I'm like this person, and it's been hard, like, even going anywhere, doing anything. So I'd like to be able to go about my life and not have this shadow.
In the truth. Or do you still feel suspicious? Personally, I think he comes over as genuine, but what do I know? Quite often you do get people on, quite often people do come on TV and give interviews and they're lying through their teeth, don't they? And I'd say normally when people look back at it later, they'll go, "Oh, you could tell they were lying because of this, that, or the other." But at the time, you don't necessarily know. And sometimes you think people are lying, but it turns out they weren't, or you think they're not lying and it turns out they were. I mean, people are good at lying. I wonder where that comes from, really, because, some people are really good at lying. They lie like psychopaths and sociopaths. The lies just flow off, they don't. I think we're all capable of a white lie. Sometimes you have to tell lies for various reasons. Sometimes it's for good reasons that you tell lies. Like, does my bum look big in this? It's like, no. No, you look fabulous, because you know that if you told the truth, it would just destroy that person. Sometimes people tell white lies, don't they? For that, we call them white lies, but they're still lies. I'm really rubbish at lying, and I think anyone who knows me would say sometimes I'm too forthright, but that's just the way I am. I find it difficult to lie. I get that from my dad. He was exactly the same. If you wanted to know how you looked, if you were just about to go out when I was like teenager or young, going out, getting dressed up to go out, my dad would be the person I'd ask, do I look okay? Because if he told you you looked okay, you knew you really did. Because if you didn't, it's, oh God, you'd say things like, oh, you're not going out like that, are you? And it'd be like, oh, well, I was going to, but I don't think I will now. Whereas my mum, you know, she would always say you look fantastic, whatever. And once you'd seen her do that to other people who you knew didn't look fantastic, you stopped believing what she was saying. But she would be the person, if you wanted, you know, a glowing compliment because you wanted your ego boosting, she would be the person to go to, because she would say, oh, you look fantastic. Oh, it's so lovely, you know, and even though you might know inside it really wasn't. But if you wanted a genuine compliment, or a genuine insult because you didn't know what you were going to get, but you knew you were going to get the truth, you would go to my dad. So I think that's where I get it from. I just always try and be honest with people, and people don't always like it. You know, they don't like it. So people will say, oh, they want you to be honest, so then you're honest, and then they say, oh, I wish you hadn't said that, or I wish you hadn't told me that. But you know, so anyway, let me know what you think. Are Luke and his mum being honest? Personally, I felt that they were, but as I say, it's very difficult to tell. Some liars are very clever. So, and that unfortunately is what will always stick with Luke. Until this perpetrator is caught, there will always be shade thrown at him because of the fact he was detained. So until the actual real person who did it is caught, he is going to have that, you know, it's like a rock around his neck, isn't it? It's a shame, but okay, I'm going. Have a good day, or well, good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Very important, free ways you can help my channel. Thank you so much. And again, thank you to those of you who go that bit further, buy Ko-Fis, send super stickers, etc. Become members. Thank you. And when you subscribe, don't forget to press notifications. So then if there's any news about this case or any other case that I'm following, I will be back on here to tell you about it. So until I see you again in the next video, may your God go with you. Thank you.